Hello from Grand Cayman. We'll see if this works outside. I'm sitting outside our hotel room right now where we have been since the middle of December due to mold being found in our home. This is the second home in 2 years and 4 months that we have been exposed to mold. And it has been a crazy educational and undesirable journey. But anyway, we're making our way through it and taking it one step at a time. But anyway, so last night, I have dreams, and I am a spiritual person, and I love symbolism. And last night's dream is kind of how I'm going into 2020, this new year. So my dream is very vivid, and I was in my car and I was driving, and maybe this will help you navigate your journey forward. So I had seen to the right, the road was completely demolished. It was like an earthquake I'm going to try to make it so my hands shake. So I'm going to try to make it so that my phone doesn't shake. And so the road was completely demolished. It was destruction as if there was an earthquake. And I had seen one vehicle that was partly hanging into it. And you would think, that's pretty scary. It would be a pretty frightful dream or nightmare. But I didn't feel any fear inside of me in my dream. I just knew not to go that way. And then to the left, I had seen the road was destructed and all. Okay, my phone went off for a second. And so I knew not to go that way. It's kind of like discernment and where is your life going to take you? Because that's been a big question of mine as I've went through this last year, being extremely sick, secondary to mold exposure, dealing with landlord and tenancy issues in the Cayman Islands, being threatened with criminal prosecution for freedom of expression and using my voice and speaking truth and seeking answers, and now seeking justice and bringing awareness to an issue that is largely minimized and overlooked, and it's a public and environmental health issue. So I kept going forward in this dream, and I'm in my car. There's a little ching-ching outside singing to me. They're really pretty black birds. Let me see if you can see. Where are you at, buddy? There you are. And so I kept going forward, and then I went to the left as if I was going on to the expressway, but it was completely blocked, kind of like the roads in Cayman a lot these days, because population has grown and the infrastructure cannot support the wealth of people without having more roads built, graves moved. So I backed up. There was somebody behind me. I backed up, and then I continued to go straight. However, hi Tony. However, now I'm looking forward onto this road, and it's so strange because you know when you go and you have your oil changed and you know there's the hole in the road and you're like, crap, that's really scary. I hope I don't fall in. Well, that's what the road looked like in my dream now. So I'm looking forward, and there are like these long lengths of wood that allows you to go across the road. And at this point in my dream, I get out of the vehicle and I can feel that presence in my body, and I follow other people forward along this board, like you think like a large wooden plank. So I walk that, and then I walk down into this lower area. It's like everything behind me, the foundation was just completely wiped out, and here I am moving forward. I have no idea where I'm going, and it really feels so symbolic of how I'm moving into this new year from 2019, which was, I've never felt so, I have deep faith. I've already been broken down to the point of surrendering and trusting a higher plan than my own. But I have never felt so reliant upon God and His guidance and Him leading the way and Him directing me than this past year. I had shared with others that normally I'm a very solution-oriented person. I don't believe in complaining if you don't have a solution. I think it is wise to be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. That scripture that I started meditating on years ago, and it really helps me in my journey. It has helped me to not react to situations and people and different triggers. And yet this year, Tim had asked me at a point, he was like, what do we do? And I didn't have a solution other than to pray and to trust a higher power to lead the way. And, you know, people have thanked me for the research that I've been doing with mold and mold exposure. I've come to learn that very little money is put into studying fungal disease, yet that causes an imbalance in your body's homeostasis. I have seen the effects of that very prominently, and more research is needed in that area, especially when you're living on an island that was affected by a hurricane and there's been water damage, especially when there are no tenancy regulations. I don't know how landlords here in the Cayman Islands don't have to have a trade and business license when I've heard so many state that this is a business and they make money off of other people, yet they're not maintaining the air conditioning, the air ducts, the plumbing leaks, roof leaks. The stratas aren't even getting the work done in a timely fashion. I have seen that in 2 of the homes that were managed by stratas where that work is not done promptly. And I've also learned that mold growth happens, and it happens very quickly. It's not. And then if you don't get it fixed promptly, even if you get it fixed promptly, it can be expensive. But we learned of another home within the current complex where we live, and within a 10-hour period from a leak upstairs where water was pouring out, seeping through the front door, it was 35, if the information was relayed to me correctly, it was $35,000 in a 10-hour period of time. The mold that was in the cabinetry from a slow, so one of the leaks in our current home that created mold in all of the kitchen cabinetry, it was beautiful from the outside, but what was going on in the inside, again, it's just another reminder not to judge things from your exterior, because you never know what's going on underneath. That goes for people, that goes for places, that goes for anything in life. When you really unpeel things, you can see things underneath the surface that may have been going on for a long time, causing a lot of damage. And so this is what happened with the leak in the wall. There was a slow leak in the pipe, and there was black mold. And the Department of Environmental Health, their equipment did not even pick that up. There was mold in the air ducts that was rated at a 6 to 7 severity out of 10. And their equipment was not sensitive. The air sampling, I've come to learn through my research, is unreliable. And if your equipment does not pick up when mold is actively present in a home, then there's something wrong with your equipment, and there's something wrong with your testing, or there's a lack of knowledge. Because with the Department of Environmental Health, they also talked about how they found increased levels of carbon dioxide. So, like always, I hear things in my head, and then I go and I research, and I thought, well, maybe there's an association with mold and increased carbon dioxide levels. And sure enough, that's the case. I read about how in grain, they'll test for carbon dioxide, and if the carbon dioxide is between 2,000 to 3,000 ppms, that means that mold is present. You want to know what the ppms of carbon dioxide were in our home? 2,800 level of mold. Yet, nobody at the DEH put together the association between mold and elevated carbon dioxide. So then I think about how I went to HSA, Health Services Authority, one time, waited in the ER for 5 hours when I couldn't breathe because of chest tightness. doctor didn't listen to me. He just decided, well, I'll just give her a nebulizer. And guess what? It worked. You want to know why? Because the nebulizer is hooked up to oxygen. How do you treat for imbalance with carbon dioxide? Administer oxygen. So it worked. But he sent me home and still didn't have the answers, still didn't listen the way Dr. Wedderburn did. When I went in there, told him about mold exposure, he listened, he got me on medicine, and I got my pulmonary function testing done, which showed that it wasn't a restrictive or an obstructive lung disease, so that leaves you with inflammatory lung disease. And what do you think you get from mold and carbon dioxide? You get inflammation. So all of the answers are fitting together. Oh, and then when I messaged the Department of Environmental Health, who provided very little help when we couldn't go into our home because I was extremely dizzy, which led us here and my chest started tightening up, I asked questions including, what are the credentials of the employees at the Department of Environmental Health? And no reply. I was also told that the mold in the carpet cleaner, the upholstery cleaner that I use at our old home in Silver Oaks, the mattress that we've now thrown away that had what looked like dead mold spores in it, the Department of Environmental Health employee told me that they didn't test that because it looked like a place where mold would naturally grow because of humidity. Despite if you have properly functioning air conditioning, you shouldn't get mold growth like that in a home. And that was one of the issues that was not maintained. It was neglected. So I'm still looking to get that mold tested, to get the species, the strain of it. It's black. I've shared the photos on Facebook. People have seen it. And that's from the ceiling leak that the strata didn't fix. The landlord at the last home, the last 2 homes that had mold exposure, dripped onto the mattress. That's the upholstery cleaner that I used to clean the bed because I tried to clean that mattress with everything, just like the mold in the bathroom, and that nothing would kill. I met this guy, he was down here with a woman, and he works in AC and plumbing, and he said if there is mold that you cannot kill in a bathroom, that means that that mold is behind the tiles. That means that everything needs to be busted out of there, and that needs to be scraped off. And in talking to public health with Annie, the nurse there, Annie K. Price, she mentioned the fact that you should be covered and you shouldn't be breathing in the mycotoxins that are released. And I have not seen one mold remediation specialist here when I've been present who has been covered and has been protecting themselves. And you think about how many people work with environmental hazards and then down the line they end up with cancers or other issues that could have been prevented. It comes down to public health, comes down to environmental health, and it's so funny because people have so often misjudged me based on my appearance. I was the little fat girl growing up that was made fun of for my big nose, my big ears, and my freckles, which I love now. And yet here I am, I've grown into an individual where people have made comments that are completely opposite of what I've heard as a little girl. And I just find it all ridiculous because Tim will make comments, he's like, how did you think about the air ducts after mold remediation, that those should be checked into and those should be, cleaned. If there's mold in there, that they should be replaced. And I was like, I thought about it. Like, God gave me wisdom and God gave me discernment. And when I hear something in my head, like U.S. consulate, I follow up and I research or I reach out and I communicate. And going back to the DEH and communicating about the mold, when the woman who works there told me that they did not test, I was mind blown at, you have visible mold, yet you did not test the mold. And then when she told me that she didn't test it because of humidity, that being a place where humidity could grow, then I went back and I repeated that, and she said she didn't say that. That is gaslighting, and that is stonewalling, and that is unacceptable. And certain things like people's credentials for the Department of Environmental Health, that should be public knowledge. People should be able to go online and see who works at the Department of Environmental Health, what are their background, what are their educational background. I'm a doctor and I can't even get answers from these people. I'm a resident in the Cayman Islands who has suffered needlessly because of failures in terms of leadership, establishing protections and regulations, and landlords who have not maintained their end of their business. when they're collecting people's money, hard-earned money that people work for. You shouldn't be paying to live in a place that makes you extremely sick. So anyway, back to my dream. I look at 2019 and I shared my reflection, my year in review, and it was a hard year. But I've gained lessons from it. One woman that follows me on my page, Dr. Nicole M. Eastman, DO, she shared about how she has a hard time being encouraged looking into the future because of so many past experiences. But you need to shift your mind. You need to look forward and you need to say, what lessons have I gained from this? I have failed in life. I have had plenty of closed doors. I have tried to rebuild my life multiple times, and God was like, nope, that's not the road that you're going to travel. And I'm traveling down a road where I don't know where I'm even going. I'm just following one step at a time, pushing forward, praying, trusting that I don't know all of the answers, but that my God knows more than I do. So it's uncomfortable. It's embracing uncertainty. It's praying for answers. It's praying for protection. It's praying for provision. It's praying to stay strong as you go down a journey. I guess you could say a journey less traveled. I love that poem that talks about, I did an assignment on that when I was in middle school, and I had to draw it, and it was creative, and it still sticks with me, though, that road less traveled. You know, are you going to continue to do what is comfortable, or are you going to allow yourself to go somewhere that's going to grow you and stretch you and make you uncomfortable? Are you going to allow yourself to let things go, let some people go, not that you think badly of those people or you have bitterness in your heart, but are you going to say, my journey is taking me this way, and your journey may be going on a different path, and that is okay. Are you going to allow yourself to be uncomfortable so that you can fully live out your purpose for your life? That's where I'm at. I've already faced my death in life, and I know how fragile and how short life is, and I don't want to be on my deathbed with regrets. So I'm going to keep doing what is uncomfortable, even if it doesn't make sense to me, even if it doesn't make sense to other people. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing because it has served me so extremely well in life. I have gone through some major, massive giants of battles, yet I've always come out victorious. And it wasn't in my strength. It was in the strength of God, that strength that was put in me, because I look back and I can't believe I'm still standing, and I couldn't have done it without my faith. So I hope in sharing this today, I hope in sharing my dream, I hope in sharing my experiences, I hope in sharing some insight and wisdom that I've gained along the way, I hope it helps you navigate through your 2020. You know, it's a new start to a calendar year, so it's always a good time to like check yourself and restart, but really at any time you should be doing that. I reflect on a daily basis. I see my shortcomings on a daily basis. I'll forever be my harshest critic, and I'm constantly looking at ways that I can grow. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly learning. I've been inquisitive since I was a little girl, and I think that's a good way to live your life. It's never time to stop learning and to stop growing, and by doing that, then you can assist others along their journey. So thanks for tuning in. If you're watching from the end, say hi, Keelan. If you're watching from the end, then once I'm done with this, you can watch the video from the beginning. If it helped you, you're welcome to share it with others. I'm going to download it later when I have Tim's computer and post it at my page, Dr. Nicole M. Eastman, DO. Have a wonderful day.